Hi everyone, welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'll be walking you guys through my home automation project. It's a little project that I decided to start for myself. I've actually carried through a couple of changes in my home, and actually my wife got me into starting to recording videos so I can share with you guys and on how I actually got all of this accomplished. And I know there's most of you all out there who have this whole crazy ideas on making changes in your houses to be able to just sit on your couch and give one command to Alexa or Google Assistant and have all your lights turned off, have your fireplace turned on, your TVs and your home temperature set to the right settings. It's very exciting. So a little bit of a backstory. I just got a new home and I embarked on this project to try to automate everything that I possibly can. And I've actually carried out a couple of projects so far, and unfortunately I've not been documenting it, and my wife is the person who kind of got me into starting to do this. So I made a couple videos and I'll be walking you guys on how to replace your toggle switches, your normal toggle light switches, to the newer, voice control switches. So stay with me. I'll be sharing with you guys all the pictures of the projects that I previously accomplished, just to show you guys that this is not the beginning of it and definitely not the end. So stick with me and let's get through this together. Our first project was our home landscaping project. You can see the before and after pictures. We actually got the supplies from Lowe's, had it delivered to us here, and we did the install from the bricks to the stones and everything. We started everything from scratch and did it ourselves. Then I have my home camera security system installed. If you look at the pictures, I have 2 cameras on each angle of the house, and then I have a floodlight in the back. I have a couple cameras indoors. Not gonna show those. So let's move forward to the install of the switches. I apologize for the noises in the background. I'm babysitting today while trying to make this video, so bear with me, guys. So as you guys can see, this is the KSAT 3-way switch. You need 2 of these to make this work. It's being sold on Amazon for $35, pretty good review, 4.5. You should note that you need 2 of these if you're trying to get it in a place where you have 2 switches, 2 or more switches controlling the same light. You need 2 of these to get that done. This will not work with a single pole switch, so that should be noted before you even go ahead and purchase it. The box comes with 2 switches inside, the 3-way switches. We have the first one here that I'm going to go ahead and take off the tape so I can show you guys what these cables are about and how to use them. So we have a green and a white cable. Normally the green cable is usually ground and the white is always neutral. So as you guys can see, we have a green one right here, which is always a ground, and then we have a white cable here that is always neutral. But if you guys are not sure, there's always labels on the switch itself. So as you guys can see, this is the ground, and those who are pretty good with electricity know the ground symbol, and then you see the neutral is the white one. And then we have the line and load. We have 2 traveler cables that we need to connect. Note that the line and load always have the screw is always black. That is for a reason. So once you guys take off the switch from the wall, make sure you match it. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this over here, and I will pull out the second switch. So the second switch should look exactly like the first one, but we also have these labels that came with the box, and this is very useful when you are doing the installation, because before you take out the previous switches, you need to label the cables just to avoid any type of mistakes that might happen and cause you to spoil your switches. So this is the second one. I'm gonna go ahead and take off the tape, set it over there. So we also have 2 cables on this one, the ground cable which is always green again. We have the white cable as well, which is always white. We also have the line and load, the black screw, and then we have 2 traveler cables. So I'm gonna go ahead and set this down. And we also have these caps that came with it, just to make the connections a little bit easier and prevent any type of electrocution that might happen from leaving exposed wires. So this will be very useful to during the installation. So I have the single pole switches here. I have 3 of them. This came in a pack that I bought from Amazon as well. Also TP-Link Kaiser switches. These are a little bit different from the 3-way switches. It's being sold on Amazon. Pretty awesome review. 4.5 out of 13,000 reviews. $35 or $36 for 3 switches. I think that's pretty awesome with what you can accomplish with these. So I'm gonna go ahead and show you guys how to get this done. So some basic tools that you might need for this project is a flathead screwdriver. You don't need a power drill. You also need a Phillips screwdriver. Now if you have a power drill with both heads, then you really don't need a second screwdriver for it. You also need this very important tool here that tells you if there's any type of voltage running through a wire. This is very useful. Also, I just have my grabber here with me just in case I need to splice a cable or extend a cable or anything like that. So this is handy as well. So now this is my circuit breaker. You need to make sure that the circuit of whichever area you're trying to work at is turned off. So since I'm going to be working in my kitchen area and my dining room, I need to make sure this kitchen breaker is turned off. This includes my dining, my kitchen, and my porch, because I have a hallway that I need to replace the switch on it. So I'm going to go ahead and turn this off. Now also I need to look at my what is it again? My dining room area, because that will be the next area I'll be working in. This controls the lights and the receptacles of my dining area, so I need to flip this off as well before I can start taking down the switch covers. So let's go ahead and flip this off. Now after flipping all the switches, the circuit breakers off, I need to check and make sure that there is no current running through this cable. So I'll flip the switch on and off a couple times, take a look at the light bulbs, make sure nothing is turning on. In both areas, that's the kitchen and my hallway, this is my kitchen switch. I'll flip it on and off. Also make sure the lights are not turning off before I start taking out the covers. So everything looks good. Now since I have a 2-way switch here that I'm going to be installing, I need to come to the other end of the 2-way switch and make sure this toggle switch is not flipping the lights on as well. If everything checks out, I'm just gonna go ahead and get right straight to it. So guys, this is the 2-switch box that I have here. I'm gonna go ahead and take out the screws. I have 2 switches in here. One of them is one of the 3-way switches, and I have a single pole switch in here that I'm going to be replacing. So let's take out all 4 screws. So now I have the switch cover taken out. I'm going to go ahead and test the cables, make sure there's no type of current running through this thing. So this is the ground cable. It's always with a green screw and bare copper wire. And then I have one of my traveler cables here on the 3-way switch. So I have the ground and one traveler on one side, and on the other side I have a line and load connection, which is always with the black screw. Remember I told you guys earlier about this. Always make sure you pay attention to that. And this is the second traveler cable here. So now that I know which cables are which, I'm going to go ahead and test them with my voltage tester, just to make sure there's no type of current running through this thing. So I'm going to go ahead and connect my negative side to the ground cable. And the first thing I always check is the line and load cable. So I'll put it on it. As you guys can see, the bulb does not turn on. that confirms that there is no electricity running through that cable, that wire. I'm going to do the same with all 3 connections. Just one more check, so make sure I got it right the first time. So since I made sure that the 3-way switch checks out, I'm going to move over to the single pole switch and make sure this is also turned off and there's no current running through the cables. So I'll check the first line and load cable and move down to checking the second one. And as you can see, the tester does not turn on, it does not power on, so that tells me there's no current running through those cables. So it's very important to not rush this process, guys. You have to take this step by step. And if at any point in time you don't feel comfortable moving forward with this, I would strongly recommend that you get a professional to take over from wherever you stop. But if you feel like you want to keep going, make sure you take these steps. Very important, because this is something that can potentially cause serious injury and even death. So playing with electricity. So let's go ahead and take these switches off the wall. So now that I have everything pulled out, as you guys can see, all cables are pulled out. I tested everything, made sure it all checks out. So this is my black screw here. I'm gonna take it off first. But even before I do this, guys, I almost skipped this step. So remember I told you guys this box came, the package came with these labels in it. They send these labels for a reason, so always make sure you use them. So normally the white cable is normally neutral, but you know, some technicians do what they do and they usually do not respect those color codes. So make sure you pay attention to that. So I'm going to go ahead and label this line and load cable here. I'm going to move on to labeling both traveler cables, starting with the red cable here. And you don't even have to bother about taking these labels out once you're done. It's better to just leave them in there for whoever, you know, maybe you might want to get through a different project down the line and you forgot what these cables are. So those labels will help you out a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and label all 3 cables, and I'm going to label the ground cable as well. Now that I have all wires labeled, I'm gonna find my neutral wires, which is this white one right here, is hidden all the way in the back. Let's go ahead and pull this out. I'm gonna be taking off the cap and connecting both neutral from the 2 switches that I'm gonna be replacing. So first of all, I'll label it with the neutral label, just so this is doesn't create any confusion down the line. So I'm gonna get this done. Once that is done, I'm gonna go ahead and start taking out the cable, the wires from the 3-way switch. So now I have all cables taken out. I have the neutral cable, the cap that was protecting the neutral cable, taking that out as well. So this is my 3-way switch. It still has the single-way cap on it. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out just so I have just a switch. So I have both neutral wires in my hands. I'm gonna go ahead and put all of these together and screw them together with this cap. Should be paying special attention, guys, with where you put wires, because it cannot only cause injuries but can cause serious property damage. Say if you put the wrong cable here and once you flip the breaker back on, you get a spark in here, that might cause a fire as well. So this is done. I'm going to go ahead and tug this cable out, tug it out a little bit just to make sure it's well secured inside and it doesn't go loose when I put the switches back in place. So now I'm going to flip this switch back, put both of them on the right sides where they're going to go back in the box. Everything is down. It's time to start connecting the cables. Starting with the ground cable. I'm going to put this together, use a cap, tie it down, make sure it's all the way in, prevent any type of breakage or looseness once you put your switches back on. Let's move on to the two traveler cables, two traveler wires. I'm going to take this out and connect both wires to the correct spot. Take note of the screw color as well. Know that the black screw is for the line and the load cable. So when you're doing this, make sure you're paying attention. Put this, make sure it's well tight. And then we move over to, remember this black screw I was talking about all this while. I'm going to take that out. Show this black cable, black wire. It's a white wire with a black screw. Make sure that is well in place. Go ahead and put the screw back on and tighten it down. Make sure it's well tight. All done with the three-way switch. Now, while I was doing this, I noticed that the wires for my single pole switch were too long. It will cause troubles when I try to put the switch back in place, so I'm going to go ahead and trim this off. This is all done now, so I'm going to start. This is when my grabber comes in handy. Need to go ahead and splice this cable and peel off the rubber so I can have a good connection. Do the same with the other line load cable wire. Alright, so I have both wires naked. I got a naked spot on it. I'm going to go ahead and connect the ground wire first. Use my cap and secure it in place. Make sure it's well tight. And always make sure after tightening this cap, you pull the cable out, like tug it out a little bit to make sure it's well tight. Just so it doesn't get loose after you're done with putting everything together. Done. I got everything in place. Give it a little tug, make sure it's well secured. Alright, so now I got everything wired and screwed down. Make sure both switches are still in good condition. Now is the time to start fitting everything back in this little box. You're gonna have to make it work. because most of the times with all these caps, now you've taken more space than it was previously available in here, so you need to take your time and tuck these cables in. Make sure all the wires are well put in place. I'm gonna go ahead and push all of these in. Push everything in. Once everything is well in, go ahead and fix the switches in place. Now that all the cables are in, I'm gonna go ahead and just secure. I'll put the two screws in the top screw and the bottom screw just to hold it in place. I'm not gonna tighten it down right now. I'll just hold it in place while I get the second switch situated. Alright, now I got both switch up, loosely tightened. I'm gonna go ahead and pick up the cover and make sure the distance between both switches are equal to permit me to put the cover on it nicely, because both all four angles of the switches and the cover has to flush, so that you don't have the cover sitting on top of the reset button and mistakenly resetting the switch while trying to turn it on. So I'm going to go ahead and adjust this, make sure it's nice and square inside. I was going to use my fingers and feel around, make sure no angle is popping out. If there is, I'm just gonna push it in. Make sure the reset buttons are free, not getting pressed down. Make sure everything is well secured in place. See, I noticed that this one needed to move to the right a little bit, so I'm gonna move this a little bit. Now that everything is in place, I'm going to go ahead and secure this cover. You should have 4 screws that came with it when I ordered it on Amazon. I'm going to go ahead and put those 4 screws in place. So this is the final product. Everything looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and test it out. Make sure you flip the switch on and off, and look at the light bulb in the hallway. It's the first one I'm testing. Make sure it's turning on and off while you're flipping the switch. That looks good. I'm gonna go ahead and test the kitchen light as well. As you guys can see, the light is turning on and off, meaning everything, all the connections are good. So I'm going to go ahead and move over to the Kaiser app. You can download this on Google App Store or Play Store, Android. And I'm just going to go ahead and add the switches. So these are some of the ones that I already did before I started making this video. So I'm going to go ahead and add. It will be a smart switch. Select smart switch. Just follow the steps on the app. It's pretty straightforward. It's not really something that should cause you any problems. The orange and green light should already be on as soon as you flip this breaker back on. So it's gonna be the first switch that I'm installing. I'll deal with the three-way switch first, and then the single pole second. Go ahead and hit connect. Hello, telling me that connection is successful, but make sure it's connected to my Wi-Fi, because that's where I'm going to be controlling the switch with. I want to make sure after everything is done I can use Amazon Alexa to control this switch. So everything looks good. It says it's connected to Alexa already, even though I haven't gone through the settings yet. Since it's a Wi-Fi switch, you really don't need the Kaiser app to do this, but just gonna go ahead and follow through the steps just to make it easier for you guys trying to get this accomplished as well. So I'm gonna go ahead and connect it to my Wi-Fi. Everything looks good. Give it a name. This is my hallway switch. It's my three-way hallway switch, so I'm gonna go ahead and put hallway light and hit next. Select a suitable icon for it, which is a light bulb. Now, since this is a two-way switch, I have to configure the second switch as well. So start is basically the same process as the first one. Great, and there we go. Switches, I'm gonna hit next, and that's it, guys. It's that easy. So now I have both switches configured to work in tandem to each other, and now I can flip the switch on and off with my smartphone from anywhere. So even though this switch is already connected via my Wi-Fi, I'm still gonna go ahead and go through the Alexa settings, just so if there's anyone out there who wants to still get this done, you can go ahead and follow the steps. So search your skills, type in Kaiser, it pops right up. It's a TP-Link Kaiser app, Amazon Alexa skill. As you guys can see, it's already enabled because I already went through the settings when I did the first couple switches. So as you guys can see, this is all my devices that I've connected on Alexa, and there you go. Once again, thank you guys so much for watching my video. Thank you guys so much for sharing this journey with me. There are certain words that I use interchangeably. I use wires and cables, and just bear with me, guys. It's what I'm used to calling it cables, but it might be wires, it might be cable, but you guys should understand that I mean the same thing. This is just the beginning of a long journey. The next project that is coming up, like I mentioned earlier, I will be automating my fireplace. I already placed the Z-Wave relay on eBay. I bought it on eBay, so I should have it sometime next week, and I will be sharing with you guys every single step I follow through to get that done. So stay tuned and please subscribe. I'll see you guys again.